Welcome to a Vancouver driving lesson. This is for anyone who has not driven on a main road before, or just anyone who wants to learn more about driving on a main road. Today we're going to be using 25th Avenue, which is also known as King Edward Avenue in beautiful Vancouver, with driving instructor Carmen. So one of the very first things I want to talk about is where you are looking. Many new drivers, when they're learning, they tend to look at the pavement in front of the front bumper. And I guess it's just not natural for humans to look far ahead while they're driving or while they're doing anything. It's a skill that you have to learn and you have to practice. If you just stare at the pavement in front of the front bumper, you will have limited information. You won't really see the full picture of what's going on. You will be missing a ton of information that you can't really afford to be missing. So the best is to keep your eyes moving, but do look far as you can see. You don't need to stare at the pavement in front of the front bumper. It's not going to jump up and run into you. So sometimes it is good to look at that area because there's a pothole or some kind of reason, but if you look really far ahead, you'll still be able to see that area in front of your front bumper. In the corner of your eye, you'll still be able to see it. So let's talk about this. When the light goes green, the cars are going to start going. I don't want to follow the car in front of me right away. I wait 2 or 3 seconds. I let him go a little bit first. Sometimes the car in front of you will stop again for a pedestrian or any reason, and if they stop again, it's a little bit unexpected for the car behind you, so maybe you have really fast reaction time and you can stop, but if the car behind is following you really closely, there is a risk of getting rear-ended. So it's a really good habit when the light goes green, just wait a few seconds, let the car in front of you go. Get that space in front of you. Today is a very nice day, so we only need at least 2-second following rule. The road is dry, the visibility is good, so we can have a 2-second following rule. At least that is the space between you and the car in front of you. And a simple way to measure it is just to pick a stationary object where the car in front of you passes and start counting 1,000, 2, 1,000, and you want at least 2 seconds between the vehicles. Having this space here also helps with your visibility. If you leave a little bit of space, you'll be able to see much better what's going on in the big picture in front of you. Whenever we're driving, we always want to have space in front of us that gives us better visibility. We need to be able to see stuff. If we can't see stuff, we can't do anything about it. So we want to have space, we want to have visibility, we want to have time to react to the stuff that we do see. By the way, this is a school warning sign, but it doesn't have a speed limit attached to it. It doesn't tell us to go 30 or anything like that. Therefore, the speed limit does not change on this road. So the speed limit is 50 kilometers an hour. There is a school, but drivers are not supposed to be psychic. We are just supposed to read the signs. The speed limit on this road is 50, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So let's talk about the amount of space I have left here when I stop behind another car at a red light or anytime I'm stopping behind another car. You want to be able to see its back tires touching the pavement on the ground in front of you. So this is actually quite a big space, and there are several reasons why we want this kind of a space. One is if the car in front of you breaks down or has a problem, you will still have space to drive around it. If you're on a hill and the car behind starts rolling backwards a little bit, there will be space there. You won't have to panic. You won't run into you. If you get rear-ended, hopefully that never happens, but if you do get rear-ended, there's a little bit of space in front. There's a little buffer there. And the usual visibility reason. And one more reason, if there is an emergency vehicle coming, you will be able to have some wiggle room to move out of the way if that would be necessary. A common misconception with new drivers is that green simply means you can go. and this is not always the case. When the light goes green here, especially if you are the very first car, it is very important to do a left to right scan. So you would look left, center, right, and then left again before you move through the intersection to make sure it's actually safe. But even if you're not the first car, if you're the second, third, fourth car, you should be scanning these intersections before you go and just make sure it looks safe to proceed. Just because it's green, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be safe, so it's always good to check. Sometimes the cars turning left decide to randomly turn, or someone doesn't notice there's a red light and they drive right through it. These intersections can be dangerous, so really good habit, just scan them before you go through, especially if you are the first car. And if you are the first car or second car, it's good to even count 2 or 3 seconds before you go, just to make sure everything has cleared through the intersection. Right when the lights have changed is the most dangerous time, usually for these types of intersections. That is the most common time there would be someone racing through the intersection that shouldn't be. So use extra caution for sure. Every time the light goes green, don't just go. Make sure it is safe by checking yourself. Flashing green lights are controlled by pedestrians. So when the pedestrian wants to cross the road, they press the button and the light sooner or later goes yellow and then red and then gives them a walk sign to cross the road. So if you still have a flashing green light, you may proceed just like a regular green light. You don't need to yield to the pedestrians because they need to wait for their walk sign. Cars on the cross street there are facing a stop sign. These intersections are super weird, but the main thing to notice is you can look for the back of the stop signs so you can tell that the other cars are supposed to be yielding to you, and proceed as you would, just like any other green light. Scan the intersection, make sure it's safe, but you are not required to stop for the pedestrians that are waiting there. And you really shouldn't. If you do, you will probably get honked at. Again, here I can look for the back of the stop sign. The stop sign is the only sign that uses that shape. So if you see the back of that shape, even though it's not red, it's just the shape that you can see, you know that that is a stop sign. That shape is not going to be any other sign. It's not going to say slow or yield or pedestrian, something. It's not going to say anything else. That is a stop sign. So you know that car must yield to you. Drivers facing stop signs must yield to other drivers who are not facing a stop sign, i.e. you. And whenever you are about to slow down, it's good to check your rear view mirror. You want to see if the traffic behind you is slowing down or planning to slow down. If they're not, for some reason, if they're totally distracted, looking the other way, and it looks like they're actually going to run into you, don't be afraid to honk the horn. The person will probably thank you because they don't want to run into you. A lot of people are distracted, so it's good to check it out. Make sure the driver behind you is understanding that you are planning to slow down. Solid white line here means you are not allowed to change lanes. It's illegal. If you want to go into that left turn lane, you need to do it right away and not later. Since we're driving on a road where the speed limit is 50 kilometers an hour, the left lane is not a fast or passing lane, and the right lane is not supposed to be a slow lane. These are all just lanes, and you can use whichever one you want. Some things you might have to deal with driving in the right lane are parked cars, possibly getting in your way, forcing you to do a lane change, or parked cars opening their door, or cars trying to parallel park, or cars trying to pull out into traffic. Maybe pedestrians, closer to pedestrians running out into the road or walking around. In the left lane, you might need to deal with cars in front of you turning left, forcing you to wait. You are normally closer to the oncoming traffic, except on this road it is divided, so it's really nice. Nice place for practicing driving. It kind of reduces the stress, but normally in the left lane, you would be closer to the oncoming traffic. And the worst kind of collision is a head-on collision, so it is better to have a problem with something in the right lane, like a parked car, rather than a problem with an oncoming car. But just choose whichever lane you want. If you're going to be planning a left turn, you can drive in the left lane, for example. A school crosswalk warning sign. Again, it doesn't say 30, so it's not a 30 school zone. It's just a crosswalk warning sign. The speed limit is still 50 here. And a yellow warning sign warning us there might be traffic coming out of the mall from that little driveway on the left. They would still need to yield to you because they're doing a left turn out of a private driveway and you are the main traffic driving down the road. But it's good to be aware and make sure they're under control if they are coming out of that little lane. And another car that should be yielding to me here because they have a stop sign and I don't. Another common thing new drivers tend to do is they look at cars, but they don't look in the car at the driver. And that is a really good habit to get into. Looking at the driver can tell you a lot because people don't tend to hit things that they see. If somebody is looking at you, then there's a good chance they're not going to run into you because they see you. If someone is not looking at you, looking the other way, then there's a chance they don't know you exist, then there might be a chance they could run into you. So when I'm going past these cars here, I try to look in the car for the driver and I see if the driver is looking at me. If they're looking at me, I don't worry so much because it shows me that they're driving, they're paying attention, and they're looking the direction they should be, or looking at me and they see me. If they're not looking at you and it looks like they're going to run into you, don't be afraid to honk the horn. It's not to get mad at them, it's just to say, hey, I'm here, I exist, there's a car here and you might want to know about it. The other thing you want to make sure to not do is to stare at the car in front of you or just follow the car in front of you. That is a terrible way to drive. If you do that, you will probably just follow him off a cliff one day. Left turning vehicles like this one must yield to me because I'm going straight and it is turning left when the light is green. What does this road sign mean? It means there's a school crosswalk coming up soon, so I should be scanning to see what's going on. And if I look as far as I can see here, I can see that there's a parked car in the right lane. So that tells me there might be vehicles changing lanes in front of me. If they're looking far enough ahead, they'll do their lane change early. If they don't notice it, they might do their lane change at the last second. So I'm going to check my right mirror, see what's going on, see if anyone is trying to do a lane change around me, just so I'm aware. flashing green lights like this, the pedestrians are supposed to be waiting for their turn to go, but it's good to scan left and right anyways, see if there's anyone there, because sometimes the pedestrian just decides to run across anyway, and it's good to know about it. I decided not to stop for this bicycle because he looks like a car. Bicycles are supposed to follow all of the same rules as cars, including stopping at stop signs and following speed limits. Sometimes bikes are more like a pedestrian and sometimes they're more like a car. But what I did here is he looks like a car. It looks like a car to me because he stopped at the stop sign and he's waiting like a car, so I'm going to treat him like a car. If he got off his bike, for example, and wanted to cross, then he would be looking more like a pedestrian. You can always stop and ask him if he'd like to go first if you're not sure. And by ask, I don't mean stop and literally ask him. I just mean you can stop your vehicle and see if he'd like to go. So what time is this 30 zone in effect? This 30 zone is in effect 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because the sign is white and black, that is a regulation sign. It is the law. And how do we know when that 30 zone is over? We basically have to wait until we see another sign that says something else. This do not turn right sign is relevant for this little area right here with all the cones. It's kind of obvious anyway, but it is just for this little area here. You are still allowed to turn right up at the intersection. Unless a sign tells you you cannot do it, then you can do it. This is my new lane for right now. It's between these two sets of cones. I can ignore the lines for now. I need to be actively scanning every crosswalk like this one. Check the edges, both sides, the middle, see if there's any pedestrians waiting there, and do stop for them as long as it's safe to stop. Normally a car in this position would yield to me. This car is going for it, which is totally fine. He is not bothering me at all. What does this sign mean? It means two-way traffic. Because of the construction, we are driving close to the oncoming traffic. This is a legal crosswalk. It is called an unmarked crosswalk. It is a legal place to cross the road, so if there are any pedestrians, basically on any corner, vehicles are supposed to be yielding. Traffic lights are out, totally not working here. We're supposed to be using the four-way stop, or in this case, three-way stop procedure, but there are many lanes here and it can be confusing. So I take my turn only when I'm sure it's safe to go. Something like this you might have to wait for. Larger vehicles that are trying to park or do something like that often need to use more than their lane. They need to use the whole thing. But vehicles that are backing up are supposed to not move until they know it's safe. So what I did here was I saw that the truck was stopped, so I know that I can keep going for now. You can also stop if you're not sure that larger vehicle will be moving into your lane. You can always stop if you're not sure. And again, something like that, you really want to get the eye contact. You can even look in the driver's left mirror, see if the driver is looking at you. If they are looking at you, there's a good chance that they won't run into you. And if they are not looking at you, you can cover the horn, which means put your hand on top of the horn to get it ready to honk in case you need to tap the horn to let the other driver know that you exist. If I look far ahead right now, I can see that looks like the right lane will be ending up ahead. So I'm gonna do a lane change now while it's easy and not wait until later when it will be more difficult. Crosswalk coming up soon, warning sign. And there it is. Signs like this that have a yellow background are a recommended speed sign, not the actual regulation sign. It's a good idea to stick to them. First and foremost, I'm yielding to pedestrians in the crosswalk here. I don't have to wait for them to get across the entire street. I can wait until they're in the middle there, across my half of the road. And then I would yield to traffic that is already in the traffic circle. In other words, I am yielding here to my immediate left. Once I'm in the circle, other cars, like the cars on my right, should be yielding to me and letting me go first. Nothing is telling me to stop or yield here, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to keep going, and I'm going to plan a lane change around the bike just to give him a lot of room. It's gonna be 40 soon, and it's 40 right now. The lane is ending. Two-way traffic coming soon. Two-way traffic right now. A stop sign soon sign. And there's my stop sign. It's a 3-way stop. Always I come to a complete stop, look around for pedestrians. There seems to be some here, so I just stay stopped where I am. I don't want to stop and block the intersection by stopping in the middle of the intersection, so I just stay stopped where I am. And something like this guy, he again does not want to crash into me. It looks like he's just eager or something. So again, I look for eye contact. If he's looking straight at me, I'm not gonna worry too much. I'm gonna just keep going. He sees me, he's just planning to go right after me. You can always honk your horn if it looks like they're gonna crash into you or you're not sure, you cannot see the driver. Definitely honk and let them know you exist. Honk first before you slam on the brakes in something like this because you don't want to get rear-ended from the car behind you. That's why we have a horn, is to honk and tell people that we are here, we exist, and this guy should clearly be yielding to me because he's coming out of a little side road there. He should be waiting for me. Not sure why he's so eager there, but if we look, we can see he's looking at me, so he's just planning to go right after me. But you can always slow down and honk if you're not sure, especially if you cannot see the driver.